It was coordinated. You had Stone coordinating it. You had Stone talking to WikiLeaks. You had Stone talking to Trump. They knew when all of this was coming out. You had Stone on the day of the Access Hollywood tape coming out, pushing to get the WikiLeaks information out there because he wanted to stir the pot up and have a distracting headline. So again, anybody that talks about a Russian hoax, as I said weeks ago, as I wrote in a Washington Post column a few weeks ago, they're just going to look like absolute fools and useful idiots throughout history.
I don't know if Joe Scarborough is playing a character in the mornings where he's a moron, a moronic Republican, or just a moron. I don't understand how anybody can be this deluded at this point, especially because, remember, he was a big Trump fan during the actual presidential contest of 2016. Then Joe and Mika had a falling out with Trump, and it's all personal, and that's all that matters. The Russia hoax is a hoax. What is he talking about? Oh, Stone and, was talking to WikiLeaks and this thing and the other thing. And what? Everyone who has looked at this, who has been a final word on any aspect of it, has said no evidence of Russia collusion whatsoever. None. Roger Stone sending a message to WikiLeaks, there is nothing there. This is the Mueller probe didn't find any collusion. You had a group of Democrats get together under the guise of being a special counsel who were running a destroy Trump operation, and they came up with nothing at the end. Nothing. They did everything they could, but they couldn't fabricate the evidence, although in retrospect, I'm sure some of them were upset about it. But you see, the Democrats still continue to believe that Russia collusion was real, no matter how many reports there are, no matter how many commissions and hearings and special counsels. They're going to go back with this. This is stunning. To you, you hear this and go, Buck, why are we even, these people are lunatics. They're nuts. Yes, but this is powerful for the Democrat Party. They're bringing back the Russia. As I have been telling you for months, they're bringing back Russia. Oh, Russia collusion. Wait, it's fake. No, it's real. It's real. It's absolutely absurd. It's just wrong what's going on here. It's just wrong. But that's what we see happening. That is the circumstance in which we find ourselves. You have, let's see here. Oh, David Plouffe on MSNBC, really going for it on this Russia stuff. Play one.
I think next week's convention, the Republican convention, is far more important because he's behind. So what does he do? Is it basically a series of grievances and insults and white power hours? Or does he try and make a compelling argument for a second term? So, again, I think the Russia story, it should make Democrats redouble their efforts at vigilance and understand we're up against a lot here. Voting in a pandemic, maybe postal service delays, a lot of confusion, disinformation. The Russians doing everything they can to have their asset remain in the Oval Office, as strange as that sounds. But it's more motivation. So whether it's front and center in the election, I don't know. But I think it should give us all more motivation. Because who knows what a second term will be like? I think we do know. It will be Moscow's for the taking.
His second term will be Moscow's for the it's still the Russian asset stuff. It's like we haven't learned anything in the last 4 years. There's been no investigation. There's been no... People are nuts. They'll believe this no matter what. The conspiracy will never go away. They'll never abandon this. They'll never say, you know what? Maybe we were a little bit off on that one. Do they ever look at what we found out about people like Strzok and Page and now this guy Kleinsmith, who were either doing things that are bad enough to get fired from their jobs, their senior bureaucrat jobs in the government, or in the case of Kleinsmith, to maybe even get a felony conviction? They ever look at that? Why was that happening? Just imagine for a second that the Bush administration had its top officials involved in a clear conspiracy to ensnare the incoming Obama national security advisor in a perjury trap, and were lying on FISA forms to do a surveillance of somebody associated with the Obama campaign. These are facts. This is what we know that happened. It would be Watergate times 10. I mean, the liberal, it's all you would hear about for eternity. In 50 years, you would still have libs whining about the targeting of the Obama administration by the Bush administration. And they pretend like what happened to Trump is nothing. They pretend that this was all somehow fine. It was warranted. In fact, he's an asset of Moscow. How? By getting NATO to be stronger than it was in the past? By blowing up a couple of hundred Russian paramilitaries in the Syrian desert? By sending Javelin anti-tank missiles to the Ukrainian military so that they can blow up Russian paramilitaries in eastern Ukraine? That's how he's Putin's puppet? They say this because they think it sounds smart, and their audience, their supporters, Russia, ha, ha, ha. No. This is appearing at the DNC. They've brought this narrative back because the truth never really mattered. They prefer to live in this delusion where Donald Trump is a Russian asset and Hillary Clinton, didn't commit over 100 crimes of classified information mishandling, which she did. As clear as day, she did. We all know that. But look, people don't want to believe that they're wrong. They never want to have to face reality. Intellectual and emotional accountability are things that liberals reject wholesale. They want none of that. They want to just believe what they believe and think what they think. The Trump supporters that I know, and I just was down in North Carolina having a lot of conversations with Trump supporters, just people came up to me, wanted to talk, and there's always stuff, I wish Trump would do this, right? They're very clear-eyed about what they see from the Trump administration that they like and don't like. They don't worship him. They like the movement. They like the sense of, there's kind of a little bit of a sense of, a little bit of sense of troublemaker joy just by going around with your MAGA hat on and everything else. They like that there's something fun about this, but they also understand that it's not perfect and you got to keep pushing the president to do the right thing. This DNC stuff that you're hearing now is just it's all a construct. They are trying to cobble together a coherent narrative of why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should be the president and vice president of the United States, respectively, when they don't really believe a lot of the things that they're saying in order to convince people of this. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are things that they want. They want to see their team in. This is just the most basic, straightforward tribalism. My side has to win. My team has to win. And if that means they have to continue to lie about the Russia stuff, they are happy to do so and will continue to do so, even though it's, the dumbest guy on TV, Steve Schmidt, who's out there, when he's not selling out people he used to work for. He's on TV saying dumb things and being a dumb ass. Play 12.
Look, the campaign was compromised. It colluded with the Russian government, with Russian intelligence services. It was stocked top to bottom with useful idiots. And the Russians are doing the same exact thing in this election cycle, spreading misinformation. The misinformation is routinely repeated by United States senators like Lindsey Graham and Ron Johnson, poisoning the discourse in this country. And it says nothing about Trump's behavior over these recent years as president of the United States, his fetish for Putin, the insistence that there not be interpreters in the room. It's incredibly suspicious behavior. But the question about whether there was collusion between the campaign and the Russian government, it's been settled for a long time. Look, the word collusion has a meaning in the English language, and the actions that the campaign made fit the meaning of that word. They colluded, period. End of discussion.
I mean, this is the ultimate gaslighting. We've gone through years of hearings and investigations and prosecutions and all this. The Mueller report, no collusion. There was no collusion. And here you have a former Republican. I mean, this guy is just a political mercenary. Will do whatever to get paid by whoever, doesn't care, has no principles, has no honor. I mean, he's really a scummy fellow. All you have to know is that HBO made him the good guy in the just trash Sarah Palin movie they did, Game Change. If HBO makes you the good guy in a movie about politics, you're the bad guy. But this is what you're going to see, the continuation of the false narrative of Russia collusion. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to do. And they don't care that they're misleading their audience. They don't care that this is absurd, that this is wrong. In fact, I think they kind of enjoy the epic thermonuclear level gaslighting that they're engaging in here with. There was collusion. Yeah, there was. This is the Democrat Party's equivalent of slapping you across the face and then 5 minutes later saying, I didn't slap you. That's what Russia collusion is for them. And their base loves it. From #1 New York Times bestselling author Brad Thor comes his gripping new thriller, Near Dark. Near Dark is the latest release in the Scott Harvath series. It's an instant #1 in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller lists. Look, they say you can't put a price on freedom, but the world's largest bounty has just been placed on America's top spy. He's got to unravel the enemy's deadly plot before darkness prevails. His only hope for survival is to outwit, outrun, and outlast his enemies long enough to get to the truth. But for Scott Harvath to accomplish his most dangerous mission ever, one that has already claimed the lives of people closest to him, including his new wife, he's going to need help, and a lot of it. Who can he trust? He finds an unlikely ally in a Norwegian intelligence operative who's just as smart, just as deadly, and determined as he is. Pick up your new copy of Brad Thor's Near Dark today. Available wherever books are sold, on Amazon. Check it out. Brad Thor's newest Scott Harvath thriller, Near Dark. The most durable, the most pernicious, the most unfair, destructive, and favorite lie of the Democrats is about Trump praising the white nationalists in Charlottesville. I mean, we've heard more about that gathering of whatever it was, a couple of hundred maybe white nationalists than any other group of disgusting racists, I think, in history. Yeah, they're morons. They're evil. No one likes them. No one supports them. But why do we keep hearing about it? Well, one, because remember there was this whole story about the rise of white nationalism at the beginning of Trump. All these news stories. Oh, white nationalists are on the march. White nationalists in the White House. This was like the Red Scare, except it was the white nationalist scare. It wasn't real. By the way, the Red Scare was real. A whole other conversation. There were penetrations of the government. There were fellow travelers. There were communists who today would just be called Democrats, who were working for the Soviet Union. But anyway, this is why we have to keep fighting over history. We can either fight over history, or we can let them completely rewrite it for their own purposes using falsehoods, innuendos, and smears like the 1619 Project does, right? That's we can either fight back on this or allow them to allow the left to control the narrative of this country. But the lie about Charlottesville, for me, is always a test because it is so easily disproven, but they don't care. The allegation they think is still too powerful. Their base gets so excited when they hear it. It doesn't matter that it's a lie. They get usage out of it, even though here's Khizr Khan, who, remember, is a Gold Star father who appeared in a political capacity to attack the president. And here is what he's saying about Donald Trump. Again, this is the Democrats are all the greatest anti-Trump hits. That's what they're rolling out with now. Play 15.
3 years ago, my beloved city, Charlottesville, Virginia, was attacked by white supremacists and a young woman was killed. We were attacked again when Donald Trump praised those racists, turning his back on a community that just wanted peace. That was the day Joe Biden decided to join this battle for the soul of America. Over time, my wife, Ghazala, and I have come to know his soul. He's a decent, compassionate man. He will bring this nation together.
He's lying. The president didn't praise Charlottesville racists. Just go. You don't have to take my word for it. Go watch the video. Look at the transcript. I mean, he said something that could be open-ended interpretation if you really want to be giving him, no benefit of the doubt at all. And within the same, the president obviously speaks very free form and clarified in that same press conference. And that I'm not talking about the white nationalists. I'm talking about the people that were in favor of keeping some of the statues because of our history, which is a debate that still goes on to this day in society. The Trump praised the Charlottesville white nationalist lie is why you can't trust Democrats, because they all sign on for this, because it's so emotionally volatile, right? You hear that and you say, oh my gosh, the president of the United States praised neo-Nazis. And notice, where have been all the other, have there been all these other neo-Nazi rallies or white nationalist rallies across the country? Because I remember the first 2 years of the Trump presidency, we were always being told that there was this huge rise of the white nationalists. And where are all those rallies? They don't exist. They're not happening. If they did, oh my gosh, it would be the biggest news story in the country. But it was all useful at the time to cover this and to create a narrative of Trump as the bad guy who supports white nationalists, even though there's not a basis for this in reality. Just look at the transcript. That's what I've been saying all along. Look at the transcript, and you know for yourself that they will continue to mislead you. They will continue to just make things up about this, and it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. Oh, I also want to point out to you that Socialist Warren is out there. I kept having a hard time with this. Was she really speaking at a Native American caucus meeting or something? I kept saying this online, which I find that hard to believe, but maybe they did do that. I don't know. I feel like it was a parody from the Sacramento, not Sacramento Bee, the Babylon Bee. Whoops, Sacramento Bee is a real thing. Unintentional parody. Here's Warren on what's going to happen if the Democrats win. Just remember this one, folks. Play 13.
Let's just look at the facts. Joe Biden has committed to build back better. And let me tell you what that means through Joe Biden's own plans. It means investing in working families. So he said he's going to invest in child care, in canceling student loan debt, that he's going to expand Social Security and better care for seniors, including seniors that are cared for at home. He says he's going to make the rich pay their fair shares. Going to be painful for you, Stephen, but that's what's going to happen. That he's going to insist on corporations having some accountability. These are the kinds of plans that I don't think are just about Democrats. I think these are the plans that all of America wants. These are the plans that will make our country work, not just for a handful of folks at the top, but make our country work for everyone.
Make the country work for everyone. What does that mean? That's my favorite question to ask about things that Democrats say. What does that really mean, the country work for everyone? There are people who work, there are people who don't work, and the Democrats want to give more from the people who work to the people who don't work. So is that working for everyone? I want to know what they really mean by this. We know that they mean they want to get rid of cops. Play 16.
Why can't folks imagine a world without the cops? Why can't folks imagine a world without prisons? Why can't people expand their imaginations to include community care, to include an abolitionist future? And I'm talking about like for real abolition, not just watered down DNC version of abolition. We're talking about abolishing the police. We're talking about abolishing ICE. We're talking about abolishing prisons.
Your Democrat Party, folks. That's what they want. There's this trend among conservatives, in the media at least, that I see, where they're always kind of looking for an opportunity to show the general public that, you know, they're how decent they are. You could call this virtue signaling. And I think that we saw a bit of this when it comes to the Jill Biden. I watched the Jill Biden speech, the John Kerry speech. I heard the John Legend performance. I got to say, I was telling producer Mark before the show, John Legend's pretty talented. I mean, his politics are super annoying, and his wife treats people horribly on Twitter, but the guy is talented. but I watched these speeches, and I was seeing all of this happening. I'm thinking to myself, well, first of all, what is the message that they're really trying to get across with all of this? Because it feels quite a bit disjointed. But then I watched the Jill Biden speech, and it was interesting because I saw it after all of the conservatives that were out there saying, "Oh, Jill Biden is so amazing and so impressive and all this stuff." Okay, let's take a look at that for a second. Here's part of Jill Biden. Notice, not Dr. Jill Biden, Jill Biden. Here's her speech, play 8.
The burdens we carry are heavy, and we need someone with strong shoulders. I know that if we entrust this nation to Joe, he will do for your family what he did for ours. Bring us together and make us whole. Carry us forward in our time of need. Keep the promise of America.
Okay, this is pretty boilerplate, standard political rhetoric. I mean, there's nothing in there that you say, wow, that's really a compelling point. I would like them to show us. I would like to know what is the new information that we have, because even Democrats were aware as of last year. Even Democrats were aware of the deficiencies of Joe Biden. They didn't want him as their candidate early on in the primary. I know it all shifted over time, but nobody was, in the media at least, excited about Joe Biden. He ran in 2008, and he couldn't get above a couple of percentage points. So what has changed? Well, he fits the need that Democrats have to try to convince swing state voters that the Democrats are not the party of lunatics like AOC, who don't know anything, who are full of self-righteousness and are just ignorant and dangerous. They want to get away from that. So they're going to go with, how dangerous can the government be in the hands of Joe Biden? That's their pitch. But I just want some information about what has changed about Biden that we should believe makes him qualified now, when even Democrats realized he wasn't qualified before. They put John Kerry ahead of this guy. They put John Kerry. Oh, John Kerry spoke last night. Here, the most boring and pompous, worthless politician in the Democrat Party in many ways. Play 14.
For the 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration, we led by example. We eliminated the threat of an Iran with a nuclear weapon. We built a 68-nation coalition to destroy ISIS. We forged a 195-nation agreement to attack climate change. We stopped Ebola before it became a pandemic. Donald Trump inherited a growing economy and a more peaceful world. And like everything else he inherited, he bankrupted it. When this president goes overseas, it isn't a goodwill mission, it's a blooper reel. He breaks up with our allies and writes love letters to dictators. America deserves a president who is looked up to, not laughed at. Donald Trump pretends Russia didn't attack our election, and now he does nothing about Russia putting a bounty on our troops. So he won't defend our country, he doesn't know how to defend our troops. The only person he's interested in defending is himself.
That from a guy who was Secretary of State to a president who escalated over 100,000 soldiers into Afghanistan so that people would stop pointing out that Obama didn't know a damn thing about the military or national security or military service or combat or any of those things. Who has a foreign policy record to stand on here? Let's go back. The Obama administration, the collapse of Syria into a civil war that turned into a regional conflagration where 500,000 plus people died, led to the rise of ISIS, the collapse of Iraq, the last-minute effort to save the Kurds from the genocide of the Islamic State, the collapse of Libya, the spread of ISIS franchises all over the world, ISIS-inspired mass casualty attacks like the Pulse nightclub and San Bernardino on U.S. soil. How does Obama's foreign policy look good to anybody again? Oh, begging the mullahs for a deal in Iran that no person who understands Iran in a meaningful way believed that they were going to they were going to adhere to over the long term and not pursue nuclear weapons when it was all said and done. That's the legacy. Unbelievable. John Kerry is such a joke and a jerk, but he's remember, Democrat nominee for the presidency. I mean, I'll admit, like, Mitt Romney, not great, and he was our nominee at one point. John McCain, politician John McCain, not great, and he was our. We've had look, Bush. I got very mixed feelings, but I think Bush is a good guy, but it's very, very tough to look at the Bush presidency as a conservative and come out of that saying that he was really adept in the role of president. Very, very tough, folks. Yeah, see, I'm honest here. I mean, John Kerry's a joke. This is a guy who he's the gentleman senator from Massachusetts, as long as the wife is funding everything else, with money made by another man, by the way. I think the whole thing is really just depressing. Actually, this DNC, I think it's a depressing circumstance. All right, let me get back to Jill Biden, because all the conservatives, Jill Biden's so amazing. I mean, she's fine. I don't have a problem with Jill Biden, but I don't see what all the hubbub is about. I don't really understand. And here's a question that I think that should be answered, and it won't be, of course. Play 9.
The president's campaign this week released an ad just really attacking your husband's cognitive ability, suggesting that he's lost a step or two in the last few years. As far as you're concerned, is that a fair attack? Is that something that should be debated as part of the campaign?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, Joe's on the phone every single minute of the day, talking to governors who are calling him, and Nancy Pelosi. He's on the Zoom. He's doing fundraisers. He's doing briefings. I mean, he doesn't stop from 9 in the morning till 11 at night. So that's ridiculous.
Who are you going to believe? Joe Biden's wife or your lying eyes? Maybe Joe Biden is also, and I've thought this for a while, he might also just be dumber than people have thought before. And so they think it's cognitive decline, but maybe it's just cognitive limitation. This guy who's never been somebody of a high intellectual caliber, ever. No one's ever thought that. Gives a speech, sounds the part, looks the part. He's kind of a throwback. He's like the perfect Democrat politician from 1985. And he was a politician in 1985. So it's not really surprising when you think about it. And we're told he will save the country. We're told that he has his finger on the pulse. I just want you all to be prepared for the greatest gaslighting in the history of your life. That is what will be occurring between now and the election. On Russia, on Biden's cognitive abilities, on what they used to say about Biden and what they used to say about Harris and what they're all going to be claiming now. It's just the truth is going to be so hard to find in any media coverage. It's going to be covered in a layer of 100 lies from MSNBC, the New York Times, CNN, and all the rest of it. So we might as well understand that's what it is right now. Oh, wait, no, actually, we don't want to hear any more from Biden. I've had enough. Jill Biden, I don't understand why we're all supposed to say it's so impressive. I'm sure she's probably a nice lady. I don't have anything against Jill Biden. I'm not some lunatic that hates people's families because I disagree with their politics. I'm actually a nice person. But I don't think I have to sit around and be like, oh my gosh, Jill Biden. Maybe I should vote for Joe because of Jill. No, it's, she's his wife. She's saying nice things about him. That's fine. But I also would note that we do have this tradition now of spouses in politics get to be political figures without really being criticized. Melania gets trashed all the time. The gorgeous 6-language speaking immigrant that Donald Trump is married to, she's trashed all the time, of course. But if you criticize a Democrat politician's spouse, we all know these are the double standards that exist and will continue to exist because liberals will gaslight us and say that they don't. All right, so how are we looking right now with the DNC 2 days done? And we got the Republican convention coming up soon. Polls are starting to tighten. Is Trump going to keep America great with 4 more years or not? We got my man Harlan Hill in the mix to talk to us about this. He is a political consultant and a buddy of mine down in D.C. Mr. Harlan, it's been a while, buddy. How are you?
It's great to be with you. I miss you being down here, but I'm sure you don't miss the swamp.
Yeah, man. Well, I miss some of the people. You and some of the squad. Tell Raheem to stay out of trouble. All right, what's going on with the Trump campaign as you see it right now? And perhaps, well, actually, let me start with this. Well, do you think this DNC is going to make a bump happen for them?
Oh, this has been such a flop. You know, I've been calling it the Democratic National Zoom call. It's painful to watch. I mean, last night in particular, the celebration after Joe Biden officially accepted the nomination as the leader of the Democratic Party, it was so anticlimactic. I mean, I pray that on our side, we're taking notes about how bad this has gone, like how low the ratings are, how anticlimactic it is, how small ball it looks. And we're making some adjustments so that next week we have a stark contrast. But, you know, my number one takeaway, I got to be honest, from last night was that there is still very much a civil war raging within the Democratic Party between the AOC wing and the more moderate, pragmatic wing of the Democratic Party. And it was on full display last night, Buck.
I feel like we should probably, because we haven't yet done it, play the clip that got a lot of attention last night with AOC. Mark, play 2.
In a time when millions of people in the United States are looking for deep, systemic solutions to our crises of mass evictions, unemployment, and lack of health care, en el espíritu del pueblo, and out of a love for all people, I hereby second the nomination of Senator Bernard Sanders of Vermont for President of the United States of America.
Now, everyone made a big deal out of this. My understanding is that there's some procedural thing where you gotta have the nominate. Even the people show up who aren't going to be get a nominating. I don't know. I mean, this is like arcane nonsense about how the convention works. But the fact that AOC was the one they picked to say this, I think, is a reminder to the progressive base. Oh, don't worry, we're actually going to be running stuff.
Absolutely. And Buck, I'll also point out that she could have at least referenced Joe Biden in her statement. And she didn't. In the 2 minutes that she was on air, that she was given this platform at the Democratic National Zoom call, she didn't throw her support even modestly or even acknowledge Joe Biden. So there is a war raging within the party. And I also wanted to take note of the fact that the Democrats have tried to downplay the importance of Black Lives Matter. They've tried to focus less on some of the far left social issues. And this is in an effort, if you look at all of their messaging, to appeal to more moderate voters. They know that in order to win, it's not going to be AOC's people. You know, they've done the calculus and they think we're going to have to take far left progressives for granted, and we're going to have to move back to the middle. Now, as the polls tighten, as we get closer to the election, they grow concerned about keeping their base motivated to get out and vote against President Trump, I think that might change. I think that they're going to have to make some concessions, especially because someone like AOC, I think she telegraphed last night that they're not going to be just silent partners in this. They want a platform. They want to talk about the Green New Deal. They want to talk about socialism. They want to talk about universal basic income. They want to talk about socialized medicine. Like, they are not going to sit around and just allow the Democratic Party to ignore them, because they fear that once the moderate Democratic Party is in power, that they'll be forgotten. So they're going to make their mark on this process.
What are we expecting? Because, you talk to the folks from the Trump campaign. You know all those people down there. Harlan's a good swamp creature, everybody. He's like, there are, in The Wizard of Oz, there's the good witch and the bad witch. Harlan's the good swamp creature. So he knows what's going on inside the Beltway. What are we expecting for the RNC? You said you hope they've learned their lessons. And then just the campaign going forward. Do we have the right pieces in play for the campaign infrastructure? Or are we going to have, the best possible showing for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said that I think this is going to be easy. Buck, I look at the polling in all of the major battleground states, and it's tight or we're losing. And I think that the polling will sharpen up as we get closer to November. But I know for a fact that the campaign is making some adjustments to messaging, to leadership, to keep this campaign on the right track, and to give the president the best possible chance at 4 more years. But I also know that just pointing to Joe Biden's mental competence, is whether asking the question, does he have dementia or Alzheimer's? That's not going to be sufficient. We truly need to start laying out in a more articulate way what our plan is for the next 4 years. I mean, I go around town, I ask a lot of our fellow Republicans, what is the messaging of the Trump campaign in 2020? Like, what is the value proposition we're giving to voters for why the president deserves 4 more years? And I haven't gotten a coherent answer from a single person that I've spoken to. Now, I think that they're making some adjustments and they're starting to build out the platform now. And I think that will really be rolled out next week at the RNC. And so I view the RNC as an important make or break reset in the campaign and really the formal debut of the reelection effort.
Harlan Hill, everybody, political consultant. If I ever ran for office, which I won't, I'd have Harlan run the campaign.
Smart
there
man.
You go. Harlan,
Smart man.
Thanks so much, my buddy. Talk to you soon.